God did not bring you this high to throw you off the mountain. You did not come this far for it to all be left behind. There is more for you, and everything you have been through is going to be used. Whatever you're going through is building you. It is making you stronger. It is making you better. And there is a bright future ahead of you. Don't ever believe the lie that there is not a bright future. Don't ever believe the lie that there's nothing more for you. Don't ever believe the lie that God is going to abandon you after he brought you to this high place. It's impossible. He is with you. He is covering you. Pray, have faith, and you are going to make it to bigger and brighter days. God does not bring you to a place of growth to abandon you. He uses everything you learn along the way, everything that has built your character. Those experiences are used to build you. And so today we're going to get into the ins and outs of what that means and how to navigate through that space, if that is something that you are going through or something that you are trying to understand and figure out. And so let's get straight into it. A lot of times we can be going through challenges or struggles in our life, and it isn't until we make it to the other side or when we start to see the clearing of the horizon, to metaphorically speak, that we actually get in this headspace of wondering why we had to go through all of that. Was it all in vain? Is this all going to be for nothing? Am I currently going through this for nothing? Am I struggling for nothing? These are all the thoughts that come in our mind and that we sort of ruminate on. And today I want to bring that dialogue to life. I think there is a misunderstanding about challenges and struggles in life. We have to understand that our challenges, the struggles we're going through, are not just in vain. We don't just go through things for the sake of going through things. God does not put challenges and hurdles in our life so that we can just merely jump over them, so we can just merely put in the reps. No, everything that we are going through, everything that you have been through, that you are currently going through and working through is for a reason. It is building you for what is to come. And I think that is where the disconnect can arise, where we're like, what is to come? I don't know what's to come. And of course you don't. You will never know what the future has to hold until you get there. And so it's really standing and planting our feet in faith. Now, on this channel, we talk a lot about faith. Like, it is a reoccurring thing that I'm always talking about. But faith is believing in what you do not see, what there is no pure, hardcore evidence in, but still believing. So when you're going through something difficult, when you're going through a challenge, it requires you to bunker down on your faith, because your faith, that belief that it will be good, right? That inner knowing that this will turn out for something better, that I'm being strengthened in my weakness right now, that I'm building and I'm putting in the reps to become stronger. The faith and belief in that is what actually allows us to show up, to wake up every day and put our best foot forward, or at least attempt to do that. Faith is what grounds us in our struggle and what allows us to persevere. But in order to have any faith, you have to understand that it is not for nothing. In order to have any faith, you have to understand and you have to believe that God is working something in you. God is teaching you something through the struggle. Be open to learn those lessons. Be open to receive what you don't even know you need. And I want to share this with you because I think that in order to have faith, we need to be wise. We need to be wise to follow our faith. We need to be wise to follow the things that are unseen. And so I want to share this with you and sort of debrief about it and talk about it, because it's such a beautiful verse that, you know, when I read it, I felt so uplifted and I felt like this is so insanely true. So this is Proverbs 8, verse 22 to 25. And it's talking about wisdom. The Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. Pause. The Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. Before the world was formed, before planet Earth was planet Earth, there was wisdom. There was knowing. There was truth. I was appointed in ages past, at the very first, before the earth began. This is just letting us know that before there were humans and animals, and there was society, and there was our way of knowing and our way of living and being, before there was even language, there was wisdom. There was a right way. There was a certain standard to life before anything was created. It existed. I was born before the oceans were created, before the springs bubbled forth their waters, before the mountains were formed, before the hills I was born. Talking about wisdom, before there were mountains, before there were struggles for us to even go through, there was wisdom. And why I think that's so inspiring is because we could be at our mountaintop. We could have gone through whatever it is in life. Maybe you went through a heartbreak. Maybe you went through a friendship breakup. Maybe you lost your job. Whatever it is that you are going through or have been through, you could have been working through that, have gotten through it, and you're now at your mountaintop and you're looking over the mountain. But that voice in your mind is telling you that it was all for nothing. The voice in your mind keeps pulling you to look back at your past. That voice in your mind is telling you that you are not worthy of standing on this mountaintop that God has brought you to. And you need to remember and understand that before anything was formed, before the world was even set in place, there was wisdom. And wisdom, what is wise, is having faith in those moments. What is wise is believing the truth in those moments, that you did not go through everything you have been through for no reason. That it taught you lessons that you wouldn't have otherwise learned, that you were brought through challenges that had to build your character, that perseverance built your character. And so it is wise to believe and have faith in what is true. It is wise to stand on the things that were created before you could even speak. And not even before you could speak, before the world was even formed. And so that mountaintop that God has brought you to was not in vain, and you need to know and believe that. That requires faith. Never did I ever think I would have any sort of platform on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, let alone. I never thought that my channels would grow to the numbers that it has today. And sometimes I can look at my life and be like, what I'm trying to say is I've grown to this really great and amazing place where I have learned so many skills, where I have learned to use my voice, where I have built a community of like-minded people that literally feels so comforting. I have accomplished so many things and I have grown in so many different ways through this content creation journey, but can still feel like the mountain I've climbed was for nothing. And so I have to constantly remind myself that I didn't get to where I am for no reason. I didn't go through the journey that I did for no reason. And on top of that, God did not bring me to where I am to just discard me, to just abandon me. It's really understanding that you didn't come as far as you did for nothing. I have to remind myself that I don't have a platform for no reason. I didn't learn all these skills for no reason. I may not understand that right now. There's so many phases, literally weekly, sometimes monthly. I get in the phase where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even care about content creation. I don't even care about my platforms. It's all for nothing. And you kind of get in your head about it. But you have to remind yourself that it will be used for things that you don't even understand. There's a future ahead of you that you can't even comprehend, that your mind can't even put together. That's how good it is. That's how good God is, that the future he has planned for you exceeds your expectation. It exceeds what you could even creatively come up with. And so just know that when you feel that, it's not necessarily true, that you've got to be open to the possibilities of what's to come. I had to go through my own struggles with seasons of depression, seasons of super, 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 super low self-esteem and self-worth, right? I remember being so heartbroken and I thought everything was my fault. I thought, like, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. That this person did all these things to me because I deserve it. Like, that was the kind of dialogue that was going on in my head that brought me to one of the lowest points in my life. But now looking back, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I felt those things, that I struggled in that way, because it showed me the opposite. It showed me that I am worthy. It showed me that my value doesn't come from someone else's validation. And the Abby sitting in front of you today is so strong because of the things that she's been through. I have such a great understanding of myself and my inherent value and the love that God has for me because I felt extremely unworthy and because I felt like life wasn't really worth living sometimes, Our deepest, darkest moments help us to become strong. Perseverance builds character. And so it's not that your challenge or your struggle inherently brings goodness, but it's you persevering through that allows you to get to the point of goodness. And that goodness is going to be bigger than you could even fathom. I've noticed it in my life. If I didn't go through certain heartbreaks, if I didn't go through certain letdowns, if I didn't get certain jobs that I really, really, really wanted to get, if I didn't go through that rejection, a lot of times with like modeling, I remember, okay, this is another story that I'll tell you guys. When I was 16, I wanted to be a model so bad, to the point where I would go to literally every modeling agency in Toronto to try and get scouted. I would literally just show up randomly. I would search online when they were having open calls, and I would show up randomly like, hey, I want to model. Can you sign me? And I would get rejected over and over and over. I was like 16, 17, and they would constantly tell me, your look is not what we're looking for. I remember one time this lady told me that I had the height, but I didn't have the face. She told me, come back when you get older. There was one time there was someone that told me that next time I come to an audition that I need to make sure I remove my little... my 5 o'clock shadow, my little mustache. They're like, you shouldn't come to a casting with a mustache. Make sure you remove it next time, but we're not taking you. There was so much rejection that I experienced from like a younger age. And even after getting into modeling, the rejection did not continue. But although that might hurt your feelings in that moment, and I remember being 17, like, what the heck am I going to do with my life? Because the only thing I want to do genuinely, that I would die and kill to do, is model. But I keep getting rejected. But I knew within myself that this was something I'd be good at. I knew within myself that this is something I could pursue and that I could be good at. And if I took the defeat of everybody's no's and let that get to me and started believing what people said to me or the rejection, if I internalized that, I would not be the person I am today. I would not have the strength that I have today. Today, I'm able to take a no and say, you know what? Thank you. That wasn't for me. You know what I mean? But you have to go through some challenges in order to get to that point. Whatever you're going through is building you. It is making you stronger. It is making you better. And there is a bright future ahead of you. Don't ever believe the lie that there is not a bright future. Don't ever believe the lie that there's nothing more for you. Don't ever believe the lie that God is going to abandon you after He brought you to this high place. It's impossible. He is with you. He is covering you. Pray, have faith, and you are going to make it to bigger and brighter days. Before we end off today's video, I want to share a prayer that I wrote that maybe we could just sort of reflect on. And so join me as I read this to you guys. Thank you, God, for all that you have done for me. Thank you for all the goodness you have brought in my darkness, for keeping me and having mercy even when I didn't deserve it. God, I thank you for always answering my prayers, for staying near to me even when I couldn't hear you. Thank you, God, for showing up and moving mountains, for drawing me in closer every time I asked. You have been good to me. Your mercy is like no other. Your grace fills my entire spirit. I worship and I praise you in all that I do, and I pray that you keep me close. This is a prayer of gratitude. And so I want to encourage anyone that is watching this video to write a prayer of gratitude. Write down the things that you are grateful for. Write down the things that you are scared, and pray that they be answered with understanding and with wisdom. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love, and bye for now. Thing that can sort of help with navigating through the inevitable challenges of life is gratitude. Now, the thing about gratitude is it calls us to do what is somewhat unnatural. It calls us to be in the midst of our mess, but still choose to look where things are good. And the thing about that is it rewires our brain to not only focus on what's good, but to look for it. So when we have a practice of gratitude, we are not only writing down and focusing what's good and bringing that into the present moment, but we're wiring our brain and changing our mind to start thinking in a positive way, to start noticing more positive things in our life, more of the positive rather than the negative that is around us. Because living in a space of regret and always looking back is going to actually hold you back, and it's not going to be evident. It's sort of a mental thing. When you are constantly thinking on the past, your life starts to get sort of stagnant. You know, have you ever been in a phase in your life where you're stagnant, where you're showing up every day, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but for some reason, nothing seems to move. For some reason, you aren't able to, maybe you aren't able to feel like you're progressing. Maybe you are progressing, but you don't feel like it. And that's because your mind is focusing on the past. That's because you are living in a space of regret. And so bringing yourself into a space of gratitude and actively practicing gratitude forces you to look forward, forces you to look at the present and say, actually, it's okay. It reminds you that everything is okay. And so when you do look forward, you're more attuned to what is good. You're more attuned to what is positive. And so a practice that we should all be taking part in is gratitude. And it doesn't have to look like journaling and writing these things down. You can have a practice of gratitude silently. You wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is thank the Lord for your life. The first thing you do is look around and name 3 things that you are grateful for. I'm grateful for the breath in my lungs. I'm grateful for my ability to feel the air that is cold and brisk. I'm grateful for the opportunity to live this day. 3 things, big or small, 3 things that you are grateful for.